Please give it up for Sophia Winter.
Good evening, everyone. I invite you to take a moment and to close your eyes. Don't worry, I'm not going to do anything crazy or you not have to stand up. Just close your eyes for a moment and ask yourself the question, what does tomorrow look like? Or even, what is tomorrow? Are we simply thinking of a non-existent day in the future? Can we even do that if tomorrow isn't promised? You can open your eyes again if you haven't done so. And by now, you've probably noticed is that I ask a lot of questions. But bear with me, here's one more. Who determines our tomorrow? And I have the answer. We do. Not you, not me, but we, everyone sitting in this room. If we want to tackle the world's most pressing issues, like climate change, wars, and poverty, we need to work together and not against each other. Now more than ever, we need to collaborate as individuals, as communities, together with our political institutions and not against them. But let's take a step back and go to the question, why do we determine our tomorrow? I could just argue that I determine my tomorrow, right? People who know me usually see me as a structured and organized person. And I usually have my schedule opened up somewhere on my computer if you see me at the lectures. Mostly I have a plan for my days. So you could argue that on an individual level, I am fully in charge of my tomorrow, right? But am I really? Don't I have obligations and expectations from family, from friends, and from society? And I believe you do too, like completing your degree, finding and staying in a job, but also joining for dinner. So if I don't fully determine my tomorrow, and you don't fully determine your tomorrow, how do we, as a collective society, determine our tomorrow? In political science, we usually talk about the distinction between two spheres, the private and the public. The private sphere refers to anything that is controlled or owned by individuals. Your home, your hobbies, your car. The public sphere, on the other hand, refers to anything that is controlled or owned by the government. Public universities, roads, bridges, but also public debate and discussion. So we have this conception between private and public, but in reality, can these spheres really be separated? Let's see. If I drive my car, I don't own a car, but for the sake of this argument, if I drive my car and you drive your car, we, as a collective society, contribute to things like air pollution and traffic. So this shows that what you do in your everyday life, the decisions you make, affect the society you live in. And on the other hand, what the society decides, what the government decides, the laws they put in place affect you. For example, the government could implement congestion charges to create an incentive for us to stop driving our cars and taking public transport instead. So what I'm trying to say is that despite having this public-private distinction, a clear cut is not that easy to make in practice. Because there is a relationship between these spheres, where actions and decisions made in one sphere significantly impact the other. And what does that do? This creates interdependence and a need for collaboration when it comes to tackling the world's most pressing issues. And all the decisions we are making now, be it private, public, or as we've just seen, something in between, are setting the foundation for our future. They are determining whether tomorrow is something we can look forward to. But what kind of decisions are we making? Most of us are deciding to live a good life now and are ignoring our long-term tomorrow, our future. We choose to ignore that our present decisions will have an impact on the future. We consume things we don't actually really need. We continue living life as if there are no ongoing wars happening, as if greenhouse gas emissions aren't rising at record levels, and as if future generations will not be confronted with existential threats. We make the choice to ignore these things and to look away. And I personally find it quite hard to just focus on finding my place in the world while knowing that the world is such an unstable place. And I think I'm not alone with that. We justify our inaction with the inaction of others. Our reasoning is, and we're all quite guilty of it, is I alone can't change things, right? I can do all these wonderful things, but me as an individual can't change things. And it's true. On an individual level, our actions are very likely to not make a big difference. You can do all these wonderful things and attend TED Talks, and I can put myself on the stage and talk for 10 minutes, but nothing will fundamentally change unless we work together in shaping a better tomorrow. And how do we do that? By A, not a surprise, working together, which means reaching a social tipping point where the majority of the people take action. And B, using politics, an existing framework that is already out there, that has been created to tackle complex issues. But what do we mean when we talk about politics? I feel like politics has become this overused label we put on things. And a lot of people don't identify with it because somehow it creates a distance between us and the things happening around us. But if you like it or not, politics is present in your everyday, regular life. Every situation or decision you find yourself in where more than one person is involved is politics, because at its core, politics is nothing more than just group decision making. It could be as simple as you deciding Friday night to go out with your friends. But unfortunately, in most cases, it's not that simple because so many people, so many variables are involved. And somehow, politics has moved into a direction that is not really representative of what we want to achieve, right? Just to give 2 examples. There has been an overall democratic decline. Increased autocracy is challenging our democratic values like freedom of speech, freedom of assembly. There has been an increase in political polarization. Opinions are becoming more extreme. There's a lack of compromise between opposing groups. Prime example would be Republicans and Democrats in the United States. But this is also true for Europe. Studies show that Europe is more polarized than before, especially considering the aftermath of the COVID pandemic. But despite being disappointed, frustrated, or not being able to identify with politics, we should not leave the playing field. Instead, we have to enter that playing field. Because if we do leave, then there will only be room for the players that are already there and who have been making the rules for years. It's necessary for everyone, especially my young generation, to engage in politics, to vote and be part of political decision-making. Politics is not just taking, but it's also giving. Politics is not just being dictated, but it's also contributing. How do we expect our global leaders to represent our opinions if we don't express our views to them? And how do we expect an accurate representation if we only have very limited people to choose from? Without engaging in politics, which is actually the highest level of group decision-making out there, we may not even be able to make a difference. So, let's come together, peacefully steer for change, because it has worked before. The women's suffrage movement, the Indian independence movement, the civil rights movement. All these movements emerged from the people to the political institutions. They happened because people were dissatisfied with how things currently are. They took time to be implemented and recognized. I believe that by combining both, working together and using politics, an existing platform that is already out there, we can steer change much faster, we can steer change much more efficiently, and we can create change from the inside of our political institutions. I am a young person who refuses to live in a world where there is no hope. I am a student who is frustrated by the dimensions of political inaction. But I am also a woman who may want to have children one day and wants to make sure that my children have a future. So I encourage you to speak up, to use your voice, to publicly share your opinion, to collaborate, and find groups that may face the same struggles as you. Every project you will work on tomorrow when you leave this event, every plan that you may have, rests on one assumption, that there will be a tomorrow. So let's work together towards a future we can all look forward to. A future where achieving our dreams and our goals is actually possible. A tomorrow that does not have to end today. Thank you.